All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We got another episode of Strat Chat. We've got a very different kind of guest tonight. He's not someone that's going on screen like Mulpils. You'll know him from Heinz's Harpoons and Beer. Guys like Ram Bam and Senate. They were streamers in their own right with YouTube channels and stuff like that. So Daxx doesn't do any of that. But I thought it was really important to get someone like him on because he's a good player, but he's a long-term free-to-play player. And he's missing a lot of the metas and stuff, and so I thought it'd be really interesting to get his viewpoint on one of these episodes, so we can kind of see how he's dealing with problems. And before I show his roster, let's just say thanks, Dax, thanks for having you on here. Thanks for coming on and subjecting yourself to this.
No, this is fascinating, and I'm glad that you asked me to do this. I've been watching your channel for a while, having a lot of fun with that, and definitely respect a lot of the strategizing you do on GAC, which, I think we both agree that it's the most fun aspect of SWGOH right now.
100%.
And for someone and just to clear the air, I call myself free to play, but the reality is I'm more of a Dolphin light type of thing. When I first started playing the game, I came to the conclusion that, hey, I'm enjoying this and I'm spending a lot of time on this. How much is my entertainment dollar worth, right? We spend, $13, $11 on Netflix. I maybe watch 3-4 movies a month.
Yeah.
I play SWGOH way more than that. So since the very beginning, I've been comfortable spending about $10 a month on this game, and I write it off as my entertainment budget. So when I say free to play, that's really what it is. But as you well know, $10 a month does not get you very far, right?
Yeah.
You're not gonna.
It's definitely not gonna get you a vault or anything like that. So I've always looked at SWGOH as soon as I got into it, I looked at it as this is a hobby. This is something like that. So I kind of treat it as such. So I've been pretty comfortable doing about a vault a month or so as I've played. Sometimes I go over, sometimes I go really under. Like I've had a couple of months where I didn't spend $1 because I was just pissed off at the game. It's an interesting thing in the ebb and flows, but you're so right on in terms of time interaction. I mean, this is the kind of game where, you fuck around and you've accidentally played this game like a part-time job for a month or two or 10 or a couple of years.
Yeah, more like 4.5 years on this end. So
yeah,
it's been a journey. And so to that end, so everyone that's watching the video can kind of understand, why doesn't he have this? Why doesn't he have that? Well, there's reasons behind everything, and everyone's got their own SWGOH journey and how they approach the game. But the reality is I almost quit this game a few months after starting.
Okay.
And it's when I realized that, man, I am never going to get ahead. I'm never going to unlock Flavor of the Week. And then I just got zen about it and I realized, wait a minute, there's two ways to play this game and to stay competitive if you're competitive at all. Some people just aren't. You either have to spend time or money.
Yeah.
And so I think what we're going to talk about today with GAC is how much time actually goes into setting defenses when you've got a limited roster, when you don't have the metas. You really have to map everything out and really take the time to do that. And if people are interested in what 100% free to play looks like, I think Cubs did an interview with Bus74. Yeah. He is #1 in the world in GAC, being 100% free to play. And I think a lot of what I'm saying today is he does it to the nth degree, right? If I spend time on my roster, on my defenses, he spends 3 times as long, Yeah. I am not efficient as he is, so he's just living proof that it can be done, but you pretty much have to micromanage every single crystal, penny, credit, token that you spend in order to stay there.
Yeah, it's 100%. This is a resource allocation game, and that's why I think hoarding is such a smart move, even though I can't do it. I'm so bad at it. I'm always like, but I see all these plus signs. I can make this guy G13. I should. It's one of those. But let me show off Daxx's roster. And before we get into it, I just want to bring out, it's like he's got Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, and that's because he was just a first order early adapter, and he had them all at basically a G12 except for the marquees when that started coming out. And then it was just like, well, I kind of already have them, so I might as well complete it. Am I right on that one, or?
Oh, 100% right. Yeah. And, being a first order fanatic, I was like, all right, cool. Thanks for throwing me a bone, guys. And it has been a game changer in a good and bad way. Uh, as some of y'all may know, uh, being Division One at over 5 million, what am I, 5,300,000 GP?
5.4, I think. Looking at the emulator, 532. Yeah, 532.
Yeah. And that's due to the amount of time that I've been playing, right? In 4.5 years, the meta has changed dozens and dozens of times. And so there are things in my roster that a lot of people just haven't invested in, like Jawas, imps, um, gosh, things like that.
Yeah, I did notice the Jawas, and I was like, that those will probably come in handy with especially since bugs have come out. You'll see some things like you've got your Basilisk on Fallens like at G8 with the Zeta, and it's missing a star and stuff, and you look at it and you go, man, this must be an older account. Just looking at some of that stuff, you see like a level 85, cup, things like that.
Right. So the main difference that you're going to notice when you have an older roster that's not focused like mine is that you're going to run into opponents that are in that 5 million GP mark, and they've got tricked out Revens and Drevens and, you know,
General
Padmes,
Skywalker and Padme and all that fun
GAC,
stuff.
just balls to the wall. But how many teams do you need in GAC? Right now, you need 7.
Yeah, I was gonna say technically you just need 14. That's it.
Right. And so what you notice is a lot of these more focused rosters, they'll barely have 8, 10 really strong teams. And they tend to fall into two camps. They're either going to go heavy on defense to try to stuff you, but more often than not, they go heavy on offense and then place basic Night Sisters, basic First Order, basic Karth, just the Karth that they use to unlock Revan.
Yeah, or Mount. Yeah.
And so the advantage and the trick to having a more spread out roster is you can still full clear. You can still get through, because if you fail on the first attempt, you've still got so many quivers, so many arrows in your quiver that you can whip out. So does your banner count suffer? Absolutely. Does your choice of what you went for? I'm starting to realize right now, SLKR, he's kind of a banner sucker, right?
Yeah.
Your whole team will die off, but you'll get that win against that gas. You'll get that win against Jedi Luke. You'll get that win against Darth Revan. So for those of you who don't have meta teams, having a GL, and I consider Jedi Luke a GL, even though he's not officially a GL, but
it's like honestly, him and Vader are, in my opinion, that kind of GL light kind of category with how their mechanics work now after the rework, and with Jedi Knight Luke, the way he kind of does that huge damage with all the health regen and the counter attacks and stuff. Like they're daunting characters to deal with.
Oh, absolutely. They're no joke. You have to go premium on them or you will suffer.
Yeah.
And then for those of you who are wondering why I don't have a Grandmaster Yoda, Yeti, you know the story.
Yeah.
And this goes back to what we were just talking about a couple of minutes ago. We're going to have fun with this game in the manner you want to have fun, right? And so that's part of the reason why you've got all this random stuff here, is that I just farm what I like. And every once in a while, your hand is forced, or you just happen to stumble across, hey, I just happen to have these players, which is what happened with me and Newt Gunray when Grievous was reworked.
Yeah.
I just happen to have Newt because I like Newt, and then all of a sudden he's relevant.
Yeah.
And Grandmaster Yoda was one of those things where I just didn't appreciate the use of the lightsaber in the prequels and his outward aggressiveness. And I was thinking, like, whatever happened to, using the Force for defense, never attack? And so when that character popped up in SWGOH, I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to unlock that guy. I don't need to see freaking geriatric Yoda bouncing around like a rubber ball with a lightsaber.
Yeah, I remember you were telling me about that, and I was I think I was playing BF2, and I was drinking some bourbon, and I was just sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, wait, did he just say that right, or did I hear that wrong? He doesn't have GMY. then I remember I asked her something. We were all in voice chat, and I think Desi started laughing, and then you were kind of laughing, like I just didn't want him. And I'm like, fair, fair.
Yeah, it would the game be a lot easier if I did have him? Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
But why not?
Fantastic character.
Why not play a game with one hand tied behind your back and see how far you can get? And so
Yeah.
far, I'm pretty stoked. It's I'm now broken through top 30 in arena. I typically stay in top 50 in ship arena. So that's a ship arena is another really important part of this, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%.
If you're going to invest in characters and you're poor on crystal count, do what you can. If you're going to have a meta, have a ship meta. As of right now, it's the easiest way to supplement your crystal income if you're nowhere close to squad arena, right? So that's the biggest takeaway there. And there's tons and tons of videos on that. Definitely go do the research, find those counters, and invest in those ship squads because your crystal account will love it. So
yeah,
go ahead.
I really agree with that. Right when I started playing this game, I was in this weird spot where I looked up the arenas at the top of the arena, and I said to myself, "Oh, I'll probably never get there," because like everybody that was up there was spending and had a really fantastic like arena team. Like when I was going for Jedi Revan, they all had like all G12 plus 5 full Revan teams with all the Zetas and all that stuff. And meanwhile, I was still just screwing around trying to get my first Zeta, and then so I went for ships, and I just leaned right into them. And so I've been kind of like a little bit of a lead in my fleet shard for a while. I think I was the third guy to unlock the Hound's Tooth, and then and I remember I spent to get the Hound's Tooth because I realized how hard it was to kill that ship without the right collection of ships when you first start getting into fleet arena. So I just parked at 3, and I was in 3 in third place for like months before I lost, like just because I got it right away. The two guys in front of me, one wailed out on ships. He just really liked ships, and the other one was like a proper like big heavy spender. He had the full Sith Empire, full Jedi Revan's teams, and when you could get them to Relic, they all were Relic, and he just had like all the ships, just all the ships. Like he had the a Relic. A G13 Anakin right off the bat. So he'd always had G12 plus 5 Anakin with a fully developed ETA 2 that just was like coming off the bench and just ending your attempt. It was just really like one of those ones where you're just like, I don't know how to beat this guy. Like I don't think I'll ever be able to beat this guy. But he quit, and I remember one of the other guys managed to beat him and knocked him out of first place. And then all of a sudden, first and was open. And so we're all just kind of bouncing into first and then getting knocked back, and then it was a journey. But like so many crystals there that a lot of people just forego because they just don't want to do fleets, or they don't like fleets or whatever. But I'm telling you, man, fleets are just it's the easiest area to get to put your effort and get crystals, I think.
Yeah, so why not do it, right? And you have now like an alliance, right, within your fleet shard.
Oh yeah. I actually started my shard chat in my fleet. It's actually in my my SWGOH Discord. It's nestled in there, so there's a tag for that, and we've got our fleet shard in there, and we're all pretty cooperative. It's probably it's smaller than my shard chat for my arena, but just like with my arena, there's a lot of cooperation going on there, and everybody's pretty respectful to each other. We're always trying to help everybody get the most crystals they can get because fuck CG.
Yeah, and oh my gosh, you just touched on two big things there. And one was, for those of you who aren't part of a fleet shard or an arena shard chat, do what Yeti did. Just start it yourself. If you were consistently in the top 50, top 20, and you're constantly getting sniped by other players, who says this game has to be competitive?
Yeah.
It's so nice to know that you have a turn and that everyone's going to get first, second, third at some point. You share the crystal payouts. There's no hard feelings, and everyone wins.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant cooperative thing, and that piggybacks onto earlier when I was talking about, hey, I realized you have to spend time or money in this game. The other thing I realized is I'm not playing against other players.
Yeah.
Right. The game is set up so that, you're fighting this guy and you're fighting. No. Your opponent is CG.
Yeah. 100%.
If you are free to play, especially, and maybe if you're not free to play, but CG is the casino, and they are always moving the goalposts further and further and moving them to the side and to the left. So again, if you're not smart with your time or money, they're always going to be winning. They're always a step ahead of you. So strategy-wise, farm-wise, this is all part of why I don't have a lot of metas, is that once the meta is released, you're behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
You gotta be there when that meta arrives before the meta arrives. And which is why I got lucky with First Order, because I had completely, went balls to the wall with the First Order, and then lo and behold, the GL happens to be a First Order.
Yeah.
So there's an element of luck, but if you understand that there's a certain amount of characters, there's a certain amount of factions, they don't release too many new characters, although recently they have been, which is awesome. But for the most part, if you just farm, eventually your day is going to come. GL Palp now.
Yeah.
Stark and Veers are requirements for unlocking GL Palp. Well, guess what? All you Imperial Trooper fanatics, ta-da! There's a gift.
Yeah. Not only that,
your Imperial Troopers are going to be disgusting.
I was going to say, not even that. There's only the one marquee, and it's Piet, and Piet supercharges those troopers to the fucking moon. Like, they become just absolute nightmare to deal with.
So what else could you ask for? But that's the big, big thing. Do not chase the meta. Be ahead of the meta. So when that day comes, and you may suffer in squalor for a little bit and not get that crystal income and those victories, but it's doable. And, I'm not like Bus 74 where I'm #1 in the world, but I consistently get second place in GAC. So, and I'm completely philosophically, morally okay with that. If there are people spending big money on this game and I spend $10 a month, yeah, they deserve to win more often. I have no qualms with that, right? If I can pull one over on a whale, hell yeah, I'm patting myself on the back and congratulating myself. But if I don't, there's no reason to cry about it.
Yeah.
So let's see.
So basically,
I got about an hour to do this.
Yeah. I was going to say we're going to get into that in just 1 second. I just want to touch on something really quickly because you did hit on a point that I don't hear very often that I think is a good point, where you're saying like you farm just keep farming, work on what you want to work on, and eventually it'll be your day. But here's the thing. So the way that it's moved now with Galactic Legends, once you have one Galactic Legend, you're always going to be Squad Arena crystal-able, basically. You're always going to be able to get crystals with that, depending on what you're using and with what not. So once you have one Galactic Legend, you can really dive into the I just want to farm what I want to farm thing, because it puts you in this situation where you're going to have your crystals coming from fleets, you have crystals coming from Squad Arena, and then you can just go, okay, well now I'm just going to do whatever I want to do, because
absolutely, and it's been a nice little vacation. I gotta tell you, I was telling Desi, I'm like, wow. And another thing that happens is once you're in that top 30 bracket, you don't get sniped as much.
Yeah, because there's less movement.
Right? There's less movement. And so there have been times where I've just not played for 24, 36 hours, and I come back and I've barely dropped. And it's so nice. Top 100, if I snoozed for 24 hours, forget it. I was back to like 150. Once I dropped to almost 200 in 36 hours. It was unbelievable. So it's nice. It's there's something to be said for chasing at least one meta and having that one absolute sledgehammer in your back pocket for GAC.
Oh yeah. All right.
Which, by the way, last GAC, you were absolutely right. My opponent did not vary his or her attack strategy. It was exactly what they posted every single time. I was experimenting and decided to put my SLKR on defense, and it was an epic fail. Basically one-shotted everyone but SLKR. SLK are only held for one defense. So I'm okay with it. It was a good experiment just to see if they were paying attention. But no, I think that's the last time I'm going to do that.
Yeah, well,
It-
it's also one of those you kind of need to use SLKR with your setup on offense because there's always going to be something you're going to need to use it on. That's
yeah.
yeah.
And that was gas, right?
Yeah.
The peekaboo in the back was the gas, and it was just like, yeah, Padme couldn't do it, and then you're left, without the full clear. So
Yeah.
last GAC, not a full clear. Got through his ships, got through his Radis, got through his negotiator, got through his Dreven. So all in all, it was pretty good. But yeah,
That's pretty
let's
solid.
not do that again.
Yeah. So just speaking of GAC, we're going to be moving into your defensive setting right now. We're going to be piggybacking that. Let's go ahead and show your opponent really quickly. Here we go. We got his accounts up. He's got 4.68. So he's very focused. He's got a Relic 7 on Vader. He's got Jedi Revan, Darth Revan, Malak. He's got some solid Night Sisters. He's got Padme team. He's got a good CLS with some relics on it. A JTR. He's got some bugs. He's got a G12 Malak. He's got a lot of that stuff that you're missing. And because he doesn't have a SWGOH.GG, this is becoming a lot more of a different and more difficult prospect of setting defense. But what we're looking at here, though, when I ran the bot compare for him, as he doesn't do those underman wins, he only has 5 lifetime underman wins. His offensive wins are very low. So he only has 565 offense wins. And then his defensive wins are also low at 210, which I don't quite understand. Like, I don't understand how someone, because he's not a new player. He's not a new player. He's got 94 Zetas to your 96. It's one of those where I'm really surprised at how few offensive wins, how many rounds. He's only won, and this is the craziest, but he's only won 2 rounds lifetime.
What?
He's only won 2 rounds lifetime in the bot compare. And then he's only got 179 zones cleared lifetime. So you're crushing him in terms of lifetime banners. Crushing him. Offensive wins, you've got.
Could this be a situation? Could this be a situation of someone who just doesn't play GAC?
I think so. I think this is a guy that autofills more often than not when I'm looking at what's going on here. Just looking at the numbers, it doesn't seem like he has a lot of will to go and do it, because like I said, we're just not seeing those offensive wins. We're not seeing defensive wins. We're not seeing undermans. We're not seeing rounds cleared. The rounds cleared is crazy. It's literally 2 to your 73. The rounds won. So he doesn't do a lot of clearing and stuff. So I think this is definitely the kind of opponent you're going to want to attack heavy. Just going to throw it out there. Just based on those numbers.
And for worst case scenario here is that he's an auto setter, right? And in that case, I don't have access to your screen right now, but if he's auto setting, then his top 65 or his top 80 are gonna matter.
And they're pretty good. Like, if you're looking at here's the thing where it comes to auto set, I always just shrug if it happens, but I wouldn't plan for it, because you never know. Maybe he just sets defense and then he just never attacks. Maybe he plans to attack, or he waits for you to attack to see if you can clear, and if you clear, he just doesn't bother. There's a lot of those kind of players as well. But here's the thing: this guy's extremely focused, so he does not have a lot past his top. So if he does auto set, we're talking, he's going to be down into the uncoordinated G11s before he's got an offensive team. So you're going to be in a really good spot that way. And that's just being able to clear kind of anything.
All right, so here's where I tend to start, and because this one has the least amount of decision making, and I typically start with ships.
Yeah.
So I'm overlooking at his ships right now.
Yeah, his ships are decent. He's got a solid negotiator.
Yeah, so first, I do have a negotiator counter, and so what I like to look at is his Kenobi. So his Kenobi is Relic 7. So that's a solid negotiator. That's
Yeah,
going to
it's a
give me a
relic
headache.
7 with all the 6E mods, so he's good to go there.
Yeah,
But when you look at the rest of his fleet, though, his fleet is very, very weak.
very
G12 on
average. Yeah.
Anakin, G8s on Rex Umbaran, G10 on Sarge. He does not have the plo job, no plo jobs to deploy. G12 on Ahsoka, G12 on Consular. He just doesn't have a good Galactic Republic fleet. So if that's set and that's something, I'm pretty confident that your first order, your finalizer counter is going to do pretty well there.
So yeah, so if we're going offense heavy, what I tend to do is I did grab Biston, um, and that frees up my Bosk to use in my negotiator counter. So what I'll end up doing here is Akbar with the MILF and Biston and and Biggs,
Yeah.
and put that on defense, and then I'll either throw Tarkin and the Bugs up there, and
Yeah, that can do some work.
again, I need to work on my ships right now. Malevolence has been a pain in my hide. Definitely have dropped many, many notches in ship arena for not having a Malevolence counter. I was focusing so much on negotiator, so that's a work in progress. So unfortunately now with double ships, it's kind of a gimme, and I do throw up weak, relatively weak, but I've been surprised. I've seen my MILF Biston combo surprise negotiators, surprise some geobugs, and they have held. So if someone doesn't take it seriously, if they go, oh, it's just Akbar, and they don't look at the speeds, it can go south for them real quick and lose some banners.
Well, what I can say looking at this guy's roster is looking at his ships is that past his negotiator, which is not a very good fleet, it's not very developed. He doesn't really have anything. He's got a lot of what like ham no burger, peanut butter no jelly.
Yeah, exactly.
So like his rebel fleet does not look great. He's got a G11 on his bigs and whatever, but he's got no Cassian. I didn't see a Biston's Ewing anywhere. There's Biston's Ewing with a G8 and a G7. Are they even modded? Yeah, they got some mods.
Probably not. Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
But my opponent actually has a Biston's Ewing all at G8, G9, but no mods on them at all. So the ship has 120 speed. I'm like, well, okay.
All right, so ships is easy.
Yeah.
Again, when they don't have a GG account, it is a little like flying blind, and we have a little bit of information like the clues that you looked up.
Yeah.
Which the clues tend to tell us that they don't take GAC too seriously.
Exactly.
But it's still flying blind, right?
Yeah.
The big thing is, do they put those relict characters on offense or defense if they don't auto set? Assuming they don't auto set.
With 210 defensive wins, I would suggest that they don't often set very tough defenses. I'm assuming, judging by the offensive wins and stuff like that, and the rounds cleared, that they auto set a lot. And I think some of those defensive wins are going to be like that. I would imagine if they do come in and set a defense, I would expect them to either not look at your account or look at it just in a cursory glance. Okay, he's got Kylo, whatever. I'll just set some stuff. That's how I'm assuming this guy is approaching the GAC, but that's just what I'm getting from his bot statistics. And I mean, I'm really, really amazed. His lifetime banner score is 170,000. That's really low.
Hopefully we'll do a more abridged version of this or a different version of this when I have an opponent who does have a GG account.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's where I really agonize over decisions. I have, and maybe we can get shots of my notebooks here, where I do go, if this, then that, if that, then this, and if their consistency is great. I love my two favorite players to go up against. Players with money and no modding, so they think just because they unlocked Drevin that they're in the clear. If you don't mod your Drevin or clock them correctly, Grievous can just stomp all over them.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Well, also you look at like what Desi does, with her Night Sisters on Drebin. Like that should be a hard counter, and set if you don't have it clocked right, you don't have it sorted out right. Those Night Sisters come in, they just clear you right out.
Yeah, so modding. I should take my own advice. Desi's always on me about modding,
Yeah.
but again, I'm lazy. I just not, I'm playing for fun, and sometimes just sitting there and agonizing over my mods isn't fun. Agonizing over my GAC opponent, that's fun to me.
Yeah,
So
that's actually. I'm not gonna lie. This is actually the actual setting of defense is more fun than the actual doing of the GAC for me. I have live streamed it a couple of times, but I'm always leery of getting like stream sniped that way. So I don't do it too often. But when I do, it's always a lot of fun to have a group of people in and we go through the defenses. I'll say
well, do it with me sometime soon because I'm not afraid of being stream sniped because no one's got my roster.
Yeah, true.
So I'm not. What are they going to learn? Like, oh, in case I play someone without a GMY, I'll do this. Like, not going to happen. So it'll be great, and that way we can actually go through the process. But in terms of this blind process that we're doing right now, typically what I'll go through is I go through all his big factions. So I start with bounty hunters. Believe it or not, people still set bounty hunters on defense. This is what I'm talking about, where
it's just an old thought process that just never went away.
Or they don't have anything else,
Yeah.
right? They're just like, I've got bounty hunters, or I'll put them on defense.
Well, I was thinking it's more just like habit, because the bounty hunters used to be tough back in the day, and then they got some holds, so they always remember their bounty hunters get some holds sometimes. Then they throw.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. I'm surprised, right? Like I was like that, and then at some point I realized, hey, they're not holding anymore. This is stupid.
Yeah,
right.
When I started paying attention to SWGOH.gg, I realized kind of how easy some of these teams just get absolutely just smashed, and I'm just like, okay, well, let's just not set that, or let's not set it that way. Bounty hunters don't look very good for him. He's got a relic on Bosk, but then it's just a G12 Boba, and then after that it's mixed geared. We got G9s and G11s and that kind of thing. No Django Fett at all. It's still at G5 or 4 or something like that. He does not have Grief or Mando, so I don't expect too much coming out of bounty hunters. Pretty much just about anything you throw at him should be able to beat it. Judging by that, let's go look at his troopers as their next. His clones are all low gear again. Nothing scary there.
So this is not fighting at all. Even if they have a relic gas, which I have seen. I have seen relic gas with some G12 troopers.
Yeah.
Gas is powerful, but he's not impossible if his clone buddies are G12 or low relic. It's very doable. So that tells me not a lot of Galactic Republic action. Droids. What do we got here on droids?
Empire are actually not bad.
All right. So Grievous is not strong, so I don't have to fear the R7 offensive powerhouse that is Grievous.
Yeah.
But I do see some resistance here with BB-8, C-3PO, and R2. All of them relict. So let's move on to
strong JTR team. Yeah, his Empire. Is pretty decent.
R7 Vader, R7 Palp. That's strong. But again, 2 does not a squad make. So I'm trying to think, like, who does he pair him with?
I'm assuming that he's getting Royal Guard, Tarkin, Thrawn, and honestly, since he doesn't really have any troopers, maybe Veers as well, which I don't understand why. I mean, he just seems very strange to have a G11 Veers, and then that Veers has his Zeta, but he doesn't have any troopers to go with it at all.
He might be. It might be an interrupted farm. I know that's happened where I've committed to a character and then something else comes along. I'm like, dang, I have to put him on hold. Yeah. Or he might be working towards GL Palp.
Yeah,
Ewoks.
He is with that Royal Guard.
Yeah, that gives me a hint there. Or he could be ship focused too. Who knows?
Yeah.
Ewoks. Zeta's on Papalu, Wicket, Chief Chirpa.
All in all, he's got decent bears for what they are, but past unlocking C-3PO and trying to do work with them in GAC, these aren't not the best bears, that's for sure.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I set my Emphas Nest on defense, which you'll see here in a little bit. But I'm not too upset about it. Ewoks are easy to counter, but it would be nice to get that undersize with Emphas Nest. Maybe I'll change that up at some point, but I like my Kira Nest on defense. It's still viable, or at least makes people think twice.
Yeah, it's definitely something that a lot of people don't face, so it could be a bit of a pain in the butt. His first order is not that great. He's got only 2 G12s there.
No, and again, this is what you were talking about earlier: peanut butter but no jelly,
Yeah,
right? A strong K-Root, strong pilot. Again, it looks like he's leaning towards ships. Like that's kind of his
it
his
seems like
crew
he's.
members are relict and
Well, I was
geared.
gonna say, but like then you look at OG Kylo stuck at G9 there, and it's one of those where you're like, I mean, the Kylos together are a fantastic pair. Um, moving into Galactic Republic.
All right, so we're halfway down the roster here, and it's pretty safe to say that we're scratching our heads going, what do you set on defense, bro?
Yeah.
You can't set First Order. They're not complete. You
No,
can't set Ewoks
He can't set his
unless
Empire.
you can't set his Empire.
I bet you he sets these weak ass bugs though.
Let's see.
These
Who you got? You're on
really
Geos.
weak,
Oh,
yeah.
did we go Galactic Republic yet?
I did just have a look at it, and then I popped right down to Geos because Galactic Republic. It's once again there's a lot of ham no burger. He's got what's a very good Padme team. If Anakin and Ahsoka were relics, like he's got pieces, but he doesn't have the whole team done. Again,
Yeah, Anakin is key to that.
I absolutely agree though.
My Padme suffers. I would put her on I would put my Padme on defense more often, except I don't have Ahsoka.
And Padme, I think you're missing.
And which one?
And you're missing Padme, I think.
Yeah, Padme and Ahsoka are not relics. But on offense, R7 Anakin and even an R2, R3 Kenobi, they can get the job done,
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So unfortunately, my Padme is offense for now.
Yeah.
All right, Geos.
It's like his Geos are decent. I mean the Brood Alpha, but the rest of them are trash. Spies at G7, Sunfax at G7. But seems like the kind of team this guy would place. If I'm looking up and down his roster, where you're missing things everywhere, because you never know, might get a hold.
Yeah, and this is Jawa food right here.
Oh yeah, totally.
The only Geo Brood Alpha that I fear is like R2, R3 plus.
Yeah.
All right, once you get to like R2, R3, okay, I have to take them seriously, and that's because the whole mechanic with Jawas involves taking as many hits as possible, so that they can inflict as many bombs as possible.
Right.
And if they are strong on offense, they will focus fire your tank, and that's it. Like you're not going to be able to lay down enough grenades or thermal detonators to finish the job.
Yeah.
See that? I threw in some Star Wars lore there. Call them grenades.
Oh yeah,
silly
gotta
noob.
Yeah. So speaking of going down, we've already looked at troopers. His Jawas are rubbish. They aren't there. Jedi are good. He's got a good Jedi Revan team with a Hoda Relic 7 Hoda, which is a little bit crazy. This guy loves his Relic 7s. He doesn't like finishing off, stopping at like Relic 3. He's got the R7 on Jolie, R7 Basil, R7 Hoda, R7 Yoda, R7 JKR, R7 Kenobi, like all that.
Which you got to respect that. But again, it makes your job easier from a strategy point of view, because every once in a while, those R3, R2 characters are deceptive, and you can and can really ruin your day.
Oh, yeah.
But if you know they're R7, then you know you're dealing with a maxed out roster. So at that point, it just comes down to mods
and mechanics. Basically.
Yeah.
All right.
Typically, Revan goes on offense, so I'm not too worried about it. And again, between Sisters and SLKR, if he does happen to set Revan on defense, not too worried about it. But it is going to take a premium team to get rid of that Revan. Night Sisters,
Night Sisters are good. I mean, the modding isn't the best. Old Daka's modded for potency, but she's also still got 95,000 health, so nothing to be sneezing at. 150% potency. Really gone heavy on potency there.
Which is kind of unnecessary, because Talzin's leadership already grants 50% potency, so it's just a waste of resource there.
So it's always it's a little bit weird when I see heavy potency on the Night Sisters for the most part. His Talzin is also heavy potency, 140% potency on Talzin, 80,000 health on Talzin. Wow, that's kind of surprising.
So again, this is a team that I would have to really take seriously, and for a player like this, I'm going to guess that this is a bread and butter team for defense.
I'm willing to bet so. Yeah.
So again, I have to have a Talzin counter here.
Yeah.
Old Republic here.
Yeah, it's kind of trashy.
A lot of people set, like I said before, a lot of people set Karth.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I've got Karth. Bosk, I'll set Bosk, right?
Yeah,
Love that.
Yeah, I think you're going to be seeing the Old Republic. I'm pretty sure. Just it's one of those. It's developed enough that I could see this guy being like, well, it's mostly done. We'll just throw that on defense.
Yeah, but this is Ewok fodder as well.
Yeah, 100%.
And sometimes if I don't use my Palp, I can undersize with Palp Vader on that one.
Yeah, something like that.
Phoenix, nothing as expected. Rebels.
Yeah, getting down to his Rebels, he does have a CLS that's relict. His Han's at G12, Chewie's at G12. So this is a fairly developed faction for him. I would expect him to use it on offense, though, but you never know. This could easily end up on defense, something you can use your Padme on. There is no Big Bear backpack, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, again, not worried about it, but it's I think that's a safe assumption, unless he's very weird.
Yeah.
That's going to be an offensive team. Resistance.
His resistance is pretty good.
Okay, just because I'm paranoid, I'm not going to skip Rebel Fighter. I just need to know. Okay, yeah, nothing on Rebel Fighter. Okay.
Yeah,
You never know. Sometimes you get like that surprise Mon Mothma that just shows up and ruins your day.
You're like, oh fuck, I didn't plan for that.
Yeah. Okay, resistance solid.
I would imagine that's an offensive team, but once again, I see that on defense way too much. Way too much.
And that's something that messes up my opponents, believe it or not. I used to exclusively use JTR on offense, and because of unlocking GL Kylo, I had a R3 veteran Han.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're like, well, what do I do with this veteran Han? Well, veteran Han's like Enfys Nest.
Yeah.
Ramps up damage, ramps up defense. The longer the match goes, BB-8 and JTR are doing the wiggle work and distracting from him. And if you take out JTR, he's going to hit like a tank afterwards, and that really throws people. I've seen that team hold for 2-3 defenses, and I've seen teams just give up and just go, you know what, I don't have anything, and they'll move on to the next team. This is something
Vet Han is what made me develop a JTR team, because I was like, I got a relic Vet Han, I got to use it somewhere.
It's not a bad character, and it's I'm really surprised. So I switched. Now I use my resistance for defense. I put him on the back wall as a peekaboo team, and I try to deplete as much of their Enfys Nest light counters. So teams that have days, right? I try to deplete the days teams first, so that when they get to my back wall, they really can't do much against this resistance team, and that's panned out for the most part. So
it's like, in looking down at his scoundrels, he does have a nest with the Zeta, but it's only G11, so that's not something that's really to be worried about. And that kind of finishes out his roster. So
I'm looking at Separatist here. Nothing.
Yeah, we've already kind of gone through that with the Grievous. He doesn't really have anything else because his bugs are as is. His Grievous is moderately developed. He does have a G11 newt with the Zeta. I don't know where that would get used. He doesn't really have anything to throw with it. So unless he's using it under Grievous, perhaps. But once again, I can't imagine he would.
No, there's not much here. So this is probably why he doesn't care about GAC too much. Yeah. He doesn't have
a lot of completed teams. He's missing a lot of, like I said, it's all ham, no burger.
So it would be really frustrating for a player like that, because they're going to have to put their best teams on defense or get completely, bulldozed. Yeah. So yeah, I don't blame them. So yeah, I'm not too scary. I hope we get a chance to do this some other time and be able to go through someone who does have a GG account.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's a lot more interesting to get the visuals on that. And in terms of this, I'm not too concerned. So let's I guess I'll show you my super secret, GAC backup, which is not super secret, you can go to SWGOH.gg, type in Daxx Barlow, and you will see my GAC history. And it is fairly consistent. I will deviate based on my opponent, based on whether they have a GL or not, based on whether they tend to use Dreven on defense or offense. All of those things make a difference. And so if someone consistently places a Revan or a Dreven team on offense or defense, then I adjust my roster. I have been known to put CLS on defense.
Yeah.
I've been known to put Night Sisters on defense, although I prefer them for offense. I've been known to put Jawas on defense. If they consistently put Geos on offense, well, I only have Jawas to counter Geos. So if they don't put Geos on defense, and you'd be surprised, again, one of those teams that people don't take seriously, they're like, it's a G12 Jawa, but they're either going to suck up banners or kill you.
I was just looking at your last week's GAC history right here, and it looks like your Jawas did get a hold last week in your first opponent. He sent his like an Akbar team. You know, he went Snack Bar, Stormtrooper Han, Wiggs, Lando, and got smoked by the Jawas.
Yeah, and that's what you hope for. And something Desi and I have talked about a lot is we actually hesitate sometimes when we have one of those surprise teams and we can either relic or gear up a key character in there because we want to make them better. But part of what makes them effective is when they see a G11, G12 character and they get underestimated. So sometimes having too many shiny relics on your team can be counterproductive. And once people see too many relics on there, they start to take it seriously, and then the counter doesn't work. Exactly. Some of these counters rely on suckering people into thinking that it's a weaker team. All right, so let's do this. I got 26 minutes left on this nonsense. I'm going to go ahead and set those ships that I said earlier. Perfect. So we got the MILF and Executioner. Up top, I do Bastila Shan, Lightside Bastila with a combination of Jedi and Hoda. Kanan, Qui-Gon, Hoda, and then, believe it or not, Mace Windu.
Interesting. Getting that Mace Windu out here. Where's Rambam where you need him?
Right. It's a Jedi to throw in there, right? Yeah, it's the only one I don't use for offense. However, he is a tank.
So yeah, like something like if under the Bastila, he'll get that taunt at the beginning.
Exactly. So if you're going to have cannon fodder, why not make it Mace Windu?
Yeah, true.
And so that helps. And again, another surprising team that people don't take seriously because my Bastie's only G11. And so a lot of people just go, I'll just throw whatever at that, or they try to undersize it, and they end up underestimating the amount of assists with Kanan and Qui-Gon, the amount of dispels with Mace and Qui-Gon, and Basti. So you have 3 dispellers there. So any team that relies on buffs can end up having those buffs removed fairly easily if they're not careful. So top wall, Basti's going to go there. Maybe Kira Nest, right? Okay. That's typical scoundrels.
It's a good front wall. Make some difficult choices. What they want to use there, but they can't see everything.
Right. And remember, part of my strategy for making my resistance teamwork is to suck up their days. So if that's why I put Kira Nest up front, is that it sucks up teams that have days. Yeah. So I'll probably do that. Who do we have here? And then from there, I typically put there. I'll move down to the bottom wall. That one's easier. I will do my leftover first order. With SLKR, I typically don't need Kru, so I can put a strong SLKR there. That tends to suck up a resistance team as well.
You mean a strong crew?
Yeah, Kru. Yeah. Put a strong Kru on bottom.
Because you said SLKR for a second, I was like, whoa, I thought you were taking that on offense.
Oh yeah. I misspoke. So we'll do that. And then on the bottom there, it can go both ways. We'll do some type of separatist. I run Dooku lead, and because of that mechanic where If you fall below 100% health, it inflicts healing immunity.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Read.
So I pair him up with the Sith Empire Trooper and someone else that sucks up health like that. Droideka.
Droideka is always a great option in under Dooku. Let's see, you're gonna use
Django.
yeah, Django's great because he starts off with his thing, his
And
immunity.
Sun Fac.
Yeah, that's a solid team right there.
So set that right there. And then back wall, like I said, back bottom wall, that's where I typically put my resistance and another surprise team. I tend to do Dooku back there as well.
It's like, yeah,
Or
it's a
if
tricky team to get through, and it can catch out when you're short on teams, or if you're going to try to go at it a little bit light. So I really like that Dooku lead.
so since I'm not terribly worried. See, Grievous and Night Sisters are now my flex team, so
Yeah.
I can do Grievous on that bottom wall. But again, I'm just not too scared of them bringing anything. I'd rather try to punch through with solid offense.
Yeah, this is definitely the kind of opponent that I say you should lean on him offensively and try to get a nice big clear. Because even if he does attack and sets defense and plays it out right this time, there's a really good chance you're going to beat him on efficiency because he's just not going to be as practiced, I don't think.
Right. All right. So I'm actually going to try to set this. I don't know if I can do this and talk at the same time, but forgive me if I'm less chatty.
That's all right.
I'm one of those guys who can't, walk and chew gum at the same time. So go ahead and doing that ships thing with the MILF and Biston. Biston's been a game changer too.
Yeah, that's one of those ships that I really want to work on. After I get Jedi Master Luke, which I'm really close on, as soon as I basically get JKL, I'll be good to go. Once I do that, I really am looking at Biston's Ewing as something that kind of needs to happen now in the four fleet reality that we find ourselves.
Absolutely.
It's just the Millennium Falcon fleet. Honestly, it's kind of trash without Bistons in the current meta, right? Like in the current with Malevolence and Negotiator, and honestly with Finalizer too, because Bistons can screw up Finalizer a little bit, getting that team moving a bit more, getting some more attacks out.
Absolutely, and that's where I got the inspiration, right? I didn't make this up on my own. I was looking at my ship shard, Malevolence and Negotiators all over the place, but there was one dude, top 5, and was running Akbar.
Yeah.
And the big difference was he went full out with Biston, and it's an effective team, right? But but Biston is key given the current meta right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of those, like, if you go even light relics on that, you do like a relic 3 snack bar, you go relic 3 on Bistons and on SRP. Your Falcon's going to be absolutely capable of not only beating a Negotiator but defending it on attack as well, like when it's on defense.
Yes.
And that's the game changer, because all of a sudden it becomes I don't know if I want to use my Negotiator on the Falcon. Maybe I'll use my Malevolence, because that's obviously you're not going to get caught out as easily. That kind of thing. Because I know it takes some serious RNG, but there was a guy, I think he's quit because I haven't seen him climb in a while, but he has Relic 5 on his Akbar. He had a Relic 5 Biston, Relic 5 SRP, Relic 7 with all the Zetas, Han and Chewie, and a Relic 5 Biggs. And that Millennium Falcon fleet was being flat out avoided by most negotiators in the chart.
You love to see it, right?
It was just crazy. Like, he'd never left top 5 unless he lowered his fleet. He was very, very generous and would lower his fleet a lot for the people coming behind him. So sometimes he would just let himself drop to like 25 or something, and then he climbs, and then he ran out of attacks or something, so he like parks at 4, and then you'll just see him at 4 for like several days, because people are just like, fuck that, I'm not attacking that. Like, I've had that go bad.
Oh yeah, you love to see it.
Yeah. So that's when that's one of the things that made me kind of go, maybe I should probably work on a Bistons because, if you get a really good Falcon fleet, I mean, that immediately frees you up to place your negotiator on defense if you've got it there, which I think is really great.
Well, it's a fairly easy gear. Honestly, it's not.
Well, I mean, SRP is one of the most bounty hungry characters in the game, but there aren't a lot of other premium gears that he needs.
Yeah.
So it's one of those. It takes a long time to get there, but when you're there, it's worth it. And with Mon Mothma, I think it's like double duty. Biston actually is a good character under Mon Mothma, and I think he's kind of overlooked because he has a lot of TM mechanics in his kit.
Yes.
So that's one of those funny ones. So like Mon Mothma is what, then of course adding this extra Rebel fleet is kind of what made me kind of look at Biston and Scarif Rebel Pathfinder a little bit better. Because on Mon Mothma team, you're going to be getting on all those weak assists, your Biston's going to be dropping damage overtimes on those assists, so those are going to stack up. But more importantly, Biston, he's going to get to his frenzy, and his frenzy is going to just give him a shitload of turns. Because on his, and then on his like other special attack that he's going to be using. When he gets, because he's getting the turns from Frenzy, he removes a turn meter equal to his potency. So you have like a potent Bistons. You can be pulling 100% turn meter off on that special. And it's pretty nuts. And he gains potency in his kit based on Rebel allies and debuffed enemies. So every time he's called assist and he drops a dot on the bad guy, he gets more potency. And every time he uses his special, he pulls turn meter. I mean, it's a fun little TM manipulation. I don't know how great it'll be, but when you're using it in a team possibly with POW, or with Hoth Rebel Scout or something, all of a sudden, it's starting to look like, oh my God, they're going to take like 2 million turns.
That's entirely possible, and I'm still holding my breath for the Bodhi meta, Bodhi Rook.
Yeah.
He'll have his day. He was my favorite, one of my favorite characters in Rogue One. He did all the work and sacrificed himself, and poor Bodhi.
Yeah.
He needs some love.
Well, that's the thing. It's like Gridden will be ready to go with that Relic 7 Zeta Bodhi that he's got.
Did he lose a bet, or is he just a Bodhi simp?
Yeah, I think it was a lose a bet kind of situation. It was.
Oh no.
Relic 7. Yeah, he's also got the Relic 7 Mace Windu. That was courtesy of Rambam, of course. But there's nothing like that Relic 7 Bodhi with the Zeta. It's a beautiful thing.
We'll tell him to set it on D with Lightside Basti.
There you go. But yeah, so I really like the idea of POW and either Hoth Rebel Scout or Biston in that Mon Mothma team, because just the ripping turn meter from Biston and the Hoth Rebel Scout giving himself, he gives himself that turn meter, on, I believe it's on basic. Yeah. It's like 40% chance to gain 25% turn meter for all allies, which is pretty crazy. And then POW getting his thing where he's giving himself turn meter every time someone uses a basic attack, which means he's going to take turn after turn after turn after turn, which is pretty nuts.
But you know what that sounds like to me? That sounds a lot like Geos and their mechanic.
Yeah, 100%. That's sort of what I'm looking at with the Mon Mothma team. It's like I think that's probably what it's meant to be, light side Geos basically. More importantly, I think it will just absolutely shred in light side Geo. If you get a nice 4-for-4 team from Mon Mothma there, I think it's worth a couple of Zetas, worth a couple of relics. And I think either Chase or Biston and SRP are kind of what you need to do. You need to get one of those guys in there. I kind of like Baze better because he's a pre-taunt, but SRP has all that viability from his ship, which is, makes that relic worth double considering how good a ship it is.
So that's there you have it. I mean, that's the consensus, is to have fun farm what you want to farm. Eventually your day will come, and pay attention to what people are doing, because not everyone takes this style or this part of the game seriously. There's a lot of people who auto set. There's a lot of people who just set the same thing over and over again, and there's a lot of people who think that just because they spent the money on a meta character that they'll automatically get wins. And the reality is, if you really want to be strong, money helps, but you still have to put in the time to learn how to play the game, learn how to mod. There's so many resources out now. Yeah, and there's so many resources out now. Like there's really no excuse. If you want to maximize your squad, there's your channel. There's hundreds and hundreds of others, but I will say that if I can give some quick shout outs, I will say between you, Grid, and It's Just Ian, that's where I get the majority of my ideas, and my negotiator counter comes straight from Ian's channel. And again, picked it because I didn't have a negotiator. So what do I have? What do I have lying around that I can cobble together? And it's been fairly effective. So I'm stuck with that. Here, I've been talking too much. I still have to set my last two defenses.
Why don't I let you go so you can actually finish out the setting your defenses there, because we're running low on time now. You got 13 minutes to get it in there, and I know it's distracting. So rather than get you an error, why don't we end it out tonight? So thanks for coming in and chatting with me. I really appreciate it. I like that this was once again, this is like another very different conversation I've had from my other episodes. It's something I'm always kind of like, I'm happy to see that the conversations are going different places. Thanks for coming on and chatting with us through your defensive setting. I appreciate it, and I know you got to get that defense set now. So we'll let you get to it.
You're the man. Thanks for inviting me, and it's going to be fun. Looking forward to seeing your stream when it goes up.
Yeah, Friday tonight. Friday night, we're at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. It'll be a lot of fun. I don't know if you're working, but you sometimes are there on Fridays, so maybe you'll be there.
It's a strong possibility. So
all right, be
well, and may the force be with you.
I'll see you later. I've got Manhattans for the evening, so it should be a very spicy stream.
All right, G&T's on this end, so we'll see you then.
All right, man. Have a good one.